For what we're doing next, comparing functions, you need to know how to find the rate and the y-intercept. And we've just come off of 2 units in which we had to do this, so this is just a quick review. You should be filling out your notes as you go through this. Don't forget to pause when you need to. We're going to be talking about finding the rate and the y-intercept from a graph, from a table, and then doing some practice with story problems and equations, because you guys are really good at that. So to find a rate from a graph, remember that's the same thing as slope, rate of change from a graph. You have to draw on that right triangle to find the rise and the run. So remember, the slope or the rate is the rise over the run. So let's do that for the first problem. And again, if you need to go back and fill in your notes, make sure you pause and go back if you need to. So drawing in the right triangle, we're going to find where it crosses. It crosses right there and right there and right there, and you really only need one. So I'm going to draw in my right triangle and find how much this is. Can't just count the boxes, you have to look over here. It goes from 1 to 2. So that's a rise of 1. And the run went from here to here, 2 to 4 is 2. So the rate of change, or the rate, is 1/2. To find the y-intercept from a graph, you just have to find where the line crosses the y-axis. So again, fill in your notes. To find the y-intercept from a graph, find the point where the line crosses the y-axis. So here's your line. It crosses right at 0. So the y-intercept is 0. Sometimes when you're working with a graph, it's difficult to find that right triangle, so you might have to use points to find the rise and run. So let's do this second example. So we could draw in our right triangle, but it's a little difficult to see, so I'm going to use these 2 points. And remember that the rate of change, or the rate or the slope, is the y change over the x change. So here I have 2 y's, so 72 minus 60, and I have 2 x's, 120 over 0. So if I do the math, that gives me 12 over 120. 12 goes into both of them, so it's 1/10. So my rate of change is 1/10. The y-intercept, again, is still where it crosses that y-axis, or what y is when x is 0. So we can see that y-intercept right here. So the y-intercept is 60. Alright, don't forget to pause to fill in your notes. So to find the rate of change from a table, and this is where some of you are still really struggling, you're finding the change in y, which is the second column, over the change in x, which is the first column. So we need to find how y is changing. So y is going up 5, and how x is changing. So this is the change in y, or the rise, and this is the change in x, or the run. So it's going up 1. So my rate of change, I'm going up 5 for every 1. So it is 5. My y-intercept, to find a y-intercept from a table, find the value of y when x is 0. And remember, if it's not on the table, then you have to work backwards. So we need to figure out what y is when x is 0. So I just backed it up 1, so I have to back it up again. In other words, work backwards. 5 minus 5 is 0. So my y-intercept is 0. So to find the rate of change, you're finding the change in y over the change in x. So here, my y is going up 4 for every 2, or up 8 for every 4. So 4 over 2, or 8 over 4, both simplifies to 2. So my rate of change is 2. My y-intercept, again, the y-intercept is the value of y when x is 0. So right here. So I'm thinking back to the assessment. Many of you missed the slope from a table, so make sure you review this. Finding the slope and the y-intercept from an equation seems to be something you're all very good at. Remember, the slope, or the rate, is the one with x. It doesn't include the x, but it's the coefficient of x, so we're looking for the x, and the y-intercept is the one without it. So here the rate, I'm going to find my x, which is right there. The number in front of it is 3. The second example, I'm going to find my x right here. The number in front of it is 4, but remember you need to look at the sign in front of it. So it's a negative 4. The y-intercept is the one without the x. And don't forget the sign. So in the first case, it's negative 10. And in the second case, it's 6. And lastly, finding the rate and the y-intercept from a story. Almost everyone got this one correct. Remember, the rate is the each, or the per, or the every, where the y-intercept is your upfront or one time. It's your starting point. So here, if a bowling alley charges $5 for shoe rental, that's a one-time fee. So that is going to be my y-intercept. Plus $2 per game. So every time we play a game, we get charged another $2. That's the rate. So y equals, remember the rate is the one with the x, and the y-intercept is the one without the x. Keith started with 50 in his account and spent 10 per week. So his starting point was 50. That's the y-intercept. And 10 per week is the rate, but he didn't put 10 in, he spent it. So it's going down 10. And so again, the equation is y equals, and you don't have to use y and x. You could have said a for amount, but I'm going to stick with y's. We started with 50, and we spent 10 for every week. So it could look like this. And I know many of you write it the way you say it. So you started with 50 and you spent 10 per week.